Hello, welcome to Live Reality Games. My name is Steven, and I'm here to talk about Survivor Season 42, Episode 3. This is our second recap of the day. Kurt Carlson hosted an EST, and we are going a little early live for the PST. Today is a Survivor VC takeover of the recap, and I have with me the one, the only Lexy. Lexy, how are you doing?
I'm fantastic, Steven. How are you?
Doing well. Lex and I had the opportunity to play with each other in Survivor BC Rock Rain Valley, which is airing now. Though, unfortunately, we never got to be in the same tribe with each other.
We did not.
No, we enjoyed a lot of quality time in Ponderosa because we unfortunately, Lexi made merge, but neither of us unfortunately made it to the jury part of the game. We were robbed.
We were so robbed.
Lexi, we both have experience playing on six-person tribes. Do you enjoy being on a six-person tribe?
I did. I liked it a lot, actually, because I think it can be really overwhelming to have to get to know a lot of different people. So, I mean, there are downsides, obviously, higher odds of getting booted anytime you have to go to tribal. But I think it helps if you're good at building relationships. I think it's just nice to have smaller groups to work with.
Cool. Hey Benjamin, thanks for tuning in. Hope you're just as excited as we are to talk about Survivor tonight. So let's just get to the episode. So, I mean, let's start at the top. Who have you enjoyed watching? What's been your favorite tribe? Well, I mean, what was your expectation coming into this episode?
Not what happened, I can tell you that. I think I can never remember tribe names.
There's the orange tribe, the green tribe, and the blue tribe. And the blue tribe name is Inca.
Vati has been my favorite tribe from the beginning. Just looking at players, I was like, that's like most of my favorites are on that tribe. I did think that Taku is probably gonna be pretty like physically strong, like challenge wise. I don't know what I expected. Thank you, Benjamin.
Thank you.
That's how, I'm like over here like doing my Google search.
Okay, I have the wiki up here as well. I'm just like, I kind of remember two of the names. I mean, by the time I'll be familiar with them, we'll be at the merge. I'm like, well, time for a weirdly named merge tribe.
Yeah, exactly. I am a big Omar fan. And a big Drea fan. And let's see. And Romeo and Jenny were probably my top four.
I was a big Jenny fan. I'm very sad this episode ended. Let's see. So if I was going through, I would say, so I watched Tori and Sequester when it was airing a little bit ago. So I have a soft spot for Tori and hope she does well for that. Though, like, given what we've seen at Tori, and granted, this is a strange episode because we don't see any of the Blue Tribe, no Inca content outside of them drowning.
Right.
But I'm a fan of Tori. Omar, I liked a lot too. I mean, Marianne is infectious. It's hard not to like her, though. I don't know what her longevity in the game will be. And then, I thought Daniel was in a great position, but I guess we'll talk about that as we go on here.
I thought the same thing. I no longer think that.
I mean, it's not to predict that Tori will win the game. I would love to see a Tori victory. Just given how the game has started, that's wild. I mean, like when people in Survivor Reddit start comparing you to Angelina, you're in a good place.
Yeah. Yeah, based on what I've seen so far, I don't know that you're gonna get to see a Tori win. But I think there are other very deserving players who are playing fantastic games. So yeah. I guess we'll see how it all shakes out.
So we open up with the Orange Tribe, the Taku Tribe, coming back from Tribal Council and just getting a sense of the fallout going on there. And I think one thing that intrigued me is that Marianne is very open about everything. And so everyone knows she has an extra vote now.
Yeah, I'm curious to see how that's going to play out. It seems like, information is power, and you lose a lot of power when you share information like that. So maybe it won't hurt her down the road, but I have a feeling that oversharing might be a future issue for her.
Well, so in your season of our season of Survivor BC, on your tribe of Survivor BC, right? One of your allies, David, finds an extra vote. He tells and granted, he took it publicly. Everyone knows he has it, but he shares the knowledge to everyone in your tribe that he has an extra vote.
Yeah, but I think that's the difference, right? Is if you find something publicly and everyone knows you have it and you say, nope, I'm not telling you, you're probably going to be public enemy number one. But I think if you share the information at that point, just kind of to dispel any sort of like nervousness amongst your tribe, and like to reassure them like, this is ours, we can use it together. I think there's a big difference between that and having something that you can use for yourself privately and then just going and telling everyone.
Like an idol, maybe? Yeah, I agree with Snyder. I agree that, like, an extra vote's not a big deal. Like, hey, let's bring it together, look unvaluable, let's do something, come merge. But then there's the public idol surge, and then she finds idol, and then like Omar's right there watching her. It's like, oh my gosh, and she learns like, oh, this isn't the great thing I thought it was gonna be.
Yeah. What do you think about? I know we saw it last season too. What are your thoughts on the three-way idol situation?
Okay, so I think it's much like Daniel last episode. I think it's kind of fun to having this three-way idol that has to be activated, and there's kind of some steps involved. I think it's cool that there's more than just like, I found an idol, here it is, and it's a get out of jail free card. I like that there's some effort put into it. I kind of dislike the beware part of it, that you don't know what you're getting into. And man, losing your votes, as we know, can have some massive repercussions.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, I think I like that they're trying something new. I think twists, if you do the same thing over and over, they do get stale, but it's hard to watch. It's hard to watch people that you're rooting for get just completely unlucky.
I mean, because like, so you're on Survivor and you find advantage, you don't know, and it says beware, and you're just, are you going to let it go?
I would love to know one person who could let it go.
I mean,
like, you're on Survivor.
Kellen in Ghost Island goes to Ghost Island and says, I'm not playing, I'm not risking my vote. And I think she's the only person who's ever said, no, I'm not doing something silly with my power for tonight.
Yeah. It's hard not to, I think. It's like the potential reward is so tempting.
I mean, I guess I'd like to see there be more transparency. It's like, I'd say, beware, if you open this, you might lose your vote till merge. All right, if there was something like that on the packaging, saying like, hey, like, here's the cost, you don't know what's inside, it could be good, but versus people's like, I'm going to open it because these people don't know what's going on. We know, like, don't do it, but they have no idea what's in store for them.
It's true. Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. So I'm worried for Marianne. I don't see. I see her. I see with the idol and with the advantage. I feel like their tribe might be looking at her, saying maybe she needs to go.
Yeah, I worry the same thing. I almost think if she hadn't, I mean, maybe one or the other, having two advantages in a game, it's like, I think she could have. Well, she doesn't seem to be very good at flying under the radar, but I think she probably could have done a better job at it if she didn't have advantages. But yeah, it seems like the fact that she's obviously a very likable player and now has some power. Yeah, I think people would be stupid not to be looking at her.
I'm thinking of Brad from the Green Tribe from last season, right? He finds the idol. He has this steel voter extra vote. He has all these things, and his tribe takes him out.
Yeah, I foresee that happening at some point this season too. Yeah.
And then we get to the Vati, the Green Tribe, for more idol shenanigans, and we see Daniel needing cross his T's, dot his I's, needs to read the idol note, and he gets the idol note from Mike, then promptly loses the idol and half the note, and
I can't fault him, because as I was watching that, I was like, that would be me on Survivor 1000%, but it was so hard to watch. I feel like Daniel's gotten a very great edit up until this episode. Like, he was so likable, he was funny, he was
until he shoots himself in the foot multiple times.
Yeah, just over and over and over again this episode. It was hard to watch because he's been a favorite for me. And he probably still is, but it was a lot of missteps.
I love the opening exchange with Hai and Lydia, and I think it's Hai. It's like, man, like, Daniel loses all the stuff. He loses his water bottle, he loses his shoe, he loses his shoulder.
Yes, so
he loses immunity idols. I mean, when like Mike says like, where is it? I'm like, well, maybe Mike lost it, but. And then I'm like, well, wait, did Daniel steal it? Is this Daniel's plan around the idol? Like, I was just like, what is going on? No, he just lost everything.
He's just messy. Yeah.
Is Daniel going to be a Rick Devens? I mean, I think Daniel needs an edge of extinction right now, desperately.
Yeah. It'll be interesting. I mean, I hope that he can recover from this. And it seems like, I guess we'll get to that later. But I hope that he can recover.
One thing I thought was interesting is we were clarified because we got this plan from Daniel last episode of like, hey, I don't want these idols activated. If I can get Mike to not say these phrases, great. Then no one has idols, and I'm good. Then he goes and reads notes, says, "Oh, these idols will be activated, merged, no matter what. It's just a question of will they be activated early." And I don't think I ever knew that about them. I thought they had to go through this whole three phrase thing to be activated. I didn't realize they were just automatically in the merge. They're good.
Yeah, I guess I thought the same thing, that it would just be moot. Well, I'm curious. I guess I kind of understand his train of thought in not wanting to vote out Mike if the other idols are going to be activated no matter what. But I'm unclear. I mean, now he seems to have made a pretty decent enemy of Mike, and he is going to let him keep an idol. I'm not sure that I follow his train of thought there.
I don't know either. I mean, I get it. Like, like, hey, Mike told me the next best thing to having an idol is knowing where the idol is. And I mean, if the idol's active no matter what, then it's kind of a question of we need to blindside Mike so we can get the idol. But I feel like Mike, given how much they got rolled in the challenge today, being the only like real physical person in the tribe, has a bit of a I think people are gonna be very wary getting rid of that.
Yeah, fair enough. But they voted out. Well, I don't want to spoil anything early.
Yeah. All right, let's get the challenge, aka Jeff Probst drowns two-thirds of the contestants.
We've never seen that before.
Well, so I don't know what I love most. Was it like Jonathan just single-handedly completing the entire challenge for his team? Was it like, I guess because you start the challenge on other platforms, I don't think I've ever seen the platform bucking up and down so much, and there being such a swell from the ocean. I was like, oh, this is unusual.
Yeah, super unusual. Which I'm not sure how we've never seen that before, because it's the ocean. Like, I'm sure there have been wavy days on Survivor before, so I don't know how in 41 seasons we've never seen it. But
or like we're simply not the super fans. Like, well, in season X, episode Y, the following occurred.
Exactly. Yeah, I don't know. To my recollection, we've never seen it before. I loved watching one person just conquer the whole challenge. Everyone else is like drowning. But my favorite moment, I think, from that whole challenge is there's like one shot of Tori like struggling in the water, and just like her face in that moment, I feel like just like,
was that one of the slow-mo shots?
I don't think so. I think
there was a lot of gratuitous slow-mo of players drowning, I thought.
Yeah, there were some good ones. So yeah, I feel like their faces said it all, just like pain and suffering.
Yes. Snyder says he thinks the person that red flagged the challenge for that reason. Yeah, it was just unusual is it just like, I enjoy the season. I'm like, wow, everyone's as unathletic as I am. These are my people.
Right? Yeah, that's a massive shift from what we've seen before. And maybe that's it. We've just like, previously it's been a whole cast of Adonises. So like, they were going to get through it no matter what. And now it's
I will say props to Tori, because Mike goes down to retrieve the buoy and stuff for his tribe. Jonathan goes down for his tribe. Then for Inca, Tori's the one doing all the hard work for her tribe. So I feel like, I don't know if it's because like she is an overachiever at heart, or she's like, I need to prove myself, or she's just in it for the challenge. But she's always there, like really doing a lot of the hard work for her tribe.
Definitely putting in effort. Yeah. Yeah. She is not afraid to put in effort. That's true.
Yeah. But like, yeah, Jonathan carries his tribe to victory, literally. And then everyone else is just drowning at the ladder part. At one point, like Rockstar almost had his like head like askew in the ladder. I was like, is this why Jeff Probst calls it off? Because he's like, I don't know what's going on.
Yeah, it looked like it was gonna go downhill. I think they probably were watching, like, at some point we're just gonna start having to go like medevac people so they don't drown. So we'll just like cut it off early so we actually have a challenge to finish instead of like everyone passed out on the beach. So I feel like it's a good call.
Do you watch Australian Survivor by any chance?
Oh yeah.
Because Australian Survivor has these just crazy, brutally difficult challenges, and therefore, like, kids of that, everyone like says like strength is actually something we need to take into account. US Survivor, I appreciate they don't go as hard, but I do love watching a really hard challenge like the episode 1 where no one can get the sled up the hill and everyone's just
Yeah.
dying in the sand.
Yeah. It is interesting because it seems like, and maybe my memory just is failing, but it does seem like, I think a big part of that is just changing the way that they've done casting, but it seems like we've seen more struggle lately. And I do appreciate that, because it's like, it feels a little bit more real when it's like, yeah, that thing is heavy. It's like, it looks heavy from like where I'm sitting on my couch at home watching it, but like, it's always looked so easy in the past. And I feel like this season we're to see people struggle.
We are here, the armchair quarterback. It's great. Yeah, and so they reset the challenge, and then the reset really means like, okay, who can toss the bags up to the top the fastest at that point?
Yeah.
Right, and I think the only inkling I had that I think Inca was going to win is because we hadn't seen any time for them, but I had no idea what was in store the future episode or why we didn't see anything from Inca at all.
Yeah.
Snyder, I've never heard the Japanese game show Sasuke, but now I want to watch it. If it has harder challenges than if it has Australian Survivor style difficult challenges, that sounds amazing.
It does. It sounds very interesting.
Yeah, so I don't think there's much else to talk about the challenge. Is there anything that we didn't bring up?
I don't think so. Yeah, it was honestly like pretty, aside from everyone almost drowning, like a pretty uneventful challenge.
So let's get to, I don't know what we call it, the journey mechanic, the go play a prisoner's dilemma mechanic, the island adventure walkabout that's kind of inconsistent. I don't know what we call this.
Yeah, I like the names you've thrown out so far.
Yeah, so like 2 players go on a journey, right? And so from the losing tribe, we have Chanel go. And this is really kind of the first time we've really got a lot of time with Chanel, I think.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I think so.
There we go. This is the Survivor Summit with the added Princess Dilemma. So I feel like this is the first time we really got to see Chanel, and Chanel goes with Omar from the Orange tribe, whose name Taku tribe.
Yeah. I was not going to help you there.
What was your thought about the summits?
I mean, I cringed when I saw it happen. I could not, if I was watching it and we see Omar first, right? And he's like talking through, like he just had this conversation with Chanel where she basically told him, I cannot take a risk. I cannot risk my vote. I need to have my vote. I'm not going to do anything risky. And so they come to this agreement, and Omar logically is like, yeah, okay. Like she's told me point blank, I can't risk my vote. That means I should be guaranteed take the risk, get the reward. And then you flip over to Chanel, and I do not know what she was thinking. Like, if you sit for she's got to know, like, you just told Omar that you're not going to risk your vote. So, of course, he's going to risk his vote. And even if you weren't sure about that, you know that you need your vote. Like, an extra vote is a great tool to have. It is not worth potentially, as we see,
drawing rocks.
Yeah, or even just like changing the course of the game, like that could have been like the losing move for Chanel.
Yeah, because like when she goes, because I was thinking like when Shan went, when it's just the 3 members of her tribe, it's her, Jeannie, and Ricard, and she goes on the journey, and she's with what's her name, Liana, right? And she's just like, I can't risk my votes. My vote is everything tonight. So she goes, there's 3 of us, therefore I'm going to pass, and I'm going to basically give Liana the best advantage Survivor's ever seen. And so I was thinking, like, you know, Chanel's doing this, she recognizes her vote matters. And you hear like, no, I'm here to play hard. I'm not going to be scared. I'm not going to back down. I was like, oh, and then she risked it. He risked it. I'm like, oh, this is such a problem, like, because she hinted, like, she basically told him, like, hey, I'm not going to take it. And and it sounds like the players had talked enough. They had an idea of what to expect, too.
Yeah. I cannot fathom what she was thinking.
Yeah. So, I don't know. It's like in everything that goes wrong in this episode stems from this one decision.
Yeah. Which is, even when I was watching it, I mean, I guess I kind of thought that this was going to be the reason that things did not go smoothly at Tribal. But like, I had no idea it was going to have that much of an impact, and it
Mm-hmm.
did. It completely changed the way things played out.
Well, this is her bad move, and then we'll talk about Daniel's bad moves later.
Plural, yeah.
Well, back at the camp with the scrambling, right? I think it's interesting the Valley tribe is kind of divvied up into groups of two, right?
Yeah.
We have on one side Mike and Jenny, the other side we have Lydia and Hai. In the middle we have Chanel and Daniel, and they seem to want to align more with Mike and Jenny.
Mm-hmm.
And so I guess the idea is like, hey, the four of us will vote out Lydia, right?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, Mike doesn't have a vote, so as long as Chanel has a vote, it'll be fine.
And why would Chanel ever risk her vote? She knows she needs it.
Yeah, and so like one thing I appreciate about Chanel, she gets back and she says like we have to split the votes. And I'm like,
yeah.
at first I'm like, wait, what? And then I realized like, oh, they're gonna orchestrate a fake vote split for the minority to ensure they can 2-1. I was like, that actually I liked a lot.
Yeah. Yeah, I do. For making a horrible move in risking her vote, Chanel did come back and she did everything that she could to salvage it.
I don't know, Snyder. I think that might be like still too light of a depiction of what went down in the Valley tribe today. I think it's more of a disaster than drivers drifting into each other like that. So I liked the fake plan, but I liked how I was just like, what is going on here?
Yeah, Hai really grew on me this episode. I liked him before, but he picked up on it immediately based on what we saw. He was like, something's fishy here. Chanel's coming on too strong.
Mm-hmm.
And then he followed his gut, and it's the reason that things went the way that he wanted them to. And the way that he stuck to his plan too, like start to finish, even when it got a little dicey at the end there, I think he played it perfectly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I liked his intuition of just like, this is a very different Chanel than the Chanel I've seen in Grand. Like, in some sense, I don't think you know how you're going to react till you go to that first tribal council and have to experience it.
Yeah.
I mean, because I guess with your original tribe on RBC, it was a little weird because you had an interesting first boot. But imagine the second tribal council, like, okay, this is for real now, because it's not clear cut who's going home or how things are going home, and like everyone's a little bit at risk at that point.
Yeah, and obviously it was not a unanimous tribal council, so I think everyone going into it probably knew that they were going to get a lot of information from that first tribal, and really get a good idea of where everyone stood, and they did. They learned a lot.
Oh my gosh, like I think there's a good reason why in season 41 we saw a lot of unanimous votes happening, because I think that's how you want tribes to go before the merge. You don't want to like fracture things needlessly. In the most recent Survivor BC season, we saw one tribe had very straightforward votes, the other tribe was a giant mess, and the tribe that was straightforward just kind of ran the game.
Yeah, if you can stay united like that, it takes you so far.
So Lexy, imagine you're Chanel, you've waged your vote, you don't know the results. You know you want to vote one way, but you know there's only 4 votes going to the tribe. I mean, what do you do when you get what do you think Chanel should have done? What do you think Daniel should have done at that time back at camp before heading to tribal?
I think Chanel did everything she could. There was nothing that she could have done aside from trying to get them to split a vote that would have changed anything. I don't know. She did not tell Mike and Jenny that she might not have a vote, right?
I don't think so. I think Daniel's the only one who knew.
Yeah, I don't think it would have changed anything other than, I don't know where Chanel's at now with her tribe. She might have been able to build a little bit more trust with more people if she would have told Mike and Jenny about her situation. Also, I don't know. I feel like at that point, maybe collaborating with everyone, they could have come up with something else. But
yeah, because Chanel has this confessional. She's like, I've been really working the social game. I've set up this great foundation leading up to this point. I can direct a vote without even having one. Right, which is kind of a great confessional if it works.
But that's putting a lot of faith in yourself and being able to convince people that what you want is best for their game. And I think at this point, like, there are a lot of players who are pretty, as we saw with Hai, pretty intuitive, and they know what's best for their game and they know what's not good for their game. And then it's a lot harder to get manipulated, I think.
So Snyder says, as a sim racer who's never competed on an LRG, I would be open about not having a vote if I had an alliance and make sure the voting rocks. Yeah, like I think if you feel confident in your alliance and you feel good about things, like you can kind of do what Mike does. You kind of say, hey, I don't have a vote. Here's what's going on, right? I think I saw, Daniel and Chanel are clearly very smart people. Now, granted, like our experience in Survivor BC, we weren't on 7 days with no food in Fiji, right? And so I don't know what that would do to me at that point, but I feel like you can kind of read like, okay, wait, if we only have 4 votes and you have no vote and I'm voting and I'm gonna have the only vote in the tie, I don't want to go to rocks. You should clearly say like, hey, if you have a vote, we vote out Lydia. If you don't have a vote, we vote out Jenny. I feel like that's a discussion you would probably should they have they should have had that.
They should have had that discussion. So that, I guess that's a good question, Stephen, in that situation. So obviously Chanel's not going to know until she goes up to the booth whether she has a vote. But if you're Chanel and Daniel, you can also kind of go either way. So maybe they trust Mike and Jenny more, but it seemed like Hai and Lydia also wanted to work with Daniel and Chanel. At that point, do you kind of just say, we know we could have the numbers if we go this way. Let's build trust with people.
Yeah, exactly. It's just saying, hey, there's too much risk. We just have to let Jenny go and we build trust with Lydia and Hai and no one knows the wiser.
Exactly.
Snyder says, what if the vote had been 1-1-1-1? My gosh. That would have just been a dream, right? That's like Australian Survivor madness level of like these kind of split votes, like or Survivor season 1.
Oh man, yeah.
I mean, they tie and they all re-vote, I guess. I think I know in Survival Challenge, it was like the final 10 or 11, and they had 2 idols play successfully, so no votes counted. And they were like, this is like and so they re-voted and it was another tie, and then they re-voted again. Right. And I think they should have gone to like rocks instead, but there was a lot of like, this is so weird. This never happens.
Yeah. Well, there's like that old Survivor, I can't remember which season, a season with Suri where there was like that whole mess with
Game Changers.
Yeah.
Where she goes home because she's the only person not immune with an idol or advantage or immunity, and just like, that's how it works.
It's like, and that's the kind of stuff you hate to see, I think. It was hard to watch this episode too. I think it's always hard to see someone go home through no fault of their own because of other people's poor gameplay.
Yeah. So we have the normal Jeff discussion, and I love I think it's when Daniel starts inserting his foot in his mouth. He's like, I'm a paranoid person. And I just need things that make me calm. And just like, what makes you calm? And it's like, well, it's Mike, it's Jenny, it's like my mom. And then Hai's just like, why is he not naming me? You can just kind of see the look in Hai's face, like, and maybe Hai's like, well, maybe he's trying to make the other side feel good, but like, Hai just kind of like,
yeah. And that's just the start of it. It really all goes downhill from there.
Because we get to the vote, it comes out 2-2, and Hai just has these confused looks on his face.
Poor
just
Hai.
Like, what is going on right now?
He was so didn't he ask Jeff like, where are the rest of the votes?
So that's at the re-vote, right? So that's after the second vote. All right, so they go and vote again, and this time it's like Jenny's not voting, Lydia's not voting, so it's 2-2. So they vote again, and of course only Hai and Daniel cast a vote. And in this one, I'm thinking like, well, of course Daniel flips,
right?
But no, we read the votes, and it's 1 Lydia, 1 Jenny, and and that's when Hai says, "Wait, where are the votes?"
Oh, that was so good.
Hai is playing Survivor season 40. Hai is getting introduced to Survivor season 42. There's all these things happening you don't know about.
It's true, yeah. And even without, I think it's interesting that he had way less information than like Daniel and still managed to play it right. Like he had no idea that people were missing votes, but he still knew that he should not split his vote, nor should he trust Chanel.
Now, Lexy, you actually have been in a bit of a similar situation as Hai. If your tribe on BC, that Ulu 2.0, went to tribal, there's likely you could have been a 3-3 split. And likely you could have deadlocked again on the tie in 2-2. right? I think that's a high likelihood that both tribes stick to original lines. Do you draw rocks in the pre-merge?
So it depends who it is, right? I think at that point, I might have been inclined to go to rocks because in my mind, if you're we saw at Survivor BC, like I made a lot of misplays and it did not go at all.
Welcome to the club.
Right. I thought we were going to stay Ula Ula strong to the very end. And so with that being my mindset, if going to rocks is the only way to have any shot at preserving Ula Ula, then yeah, I probably would have done it. Would I go to rocks at the third tribal council of the season? No. Let someone go. It doesn't matter who. I don't care if I like them.
Have you seen Survivor South Africa?
No.
There are rocks in the third tribal council this season. And it is wild. Someone flips from the majority to the minority and takes them to rocks. You're like, what is happening?
Wow. I just cannot think of a scenario where that actually makes sense to do.
Snyder, again, like, I just can't believe people would want to go to the rocks. I mean, granted, I tried to go to the rocks, but it was a swap situation. I didn't try to go to rocks in my original tribe.
Yeah.
And so we get a deadlock, and this is where I thought was fascinating. Was Jeff's like, reveal if you didn't have a vote, and like Mike sheepishly raises his hand, Chanel sheepishly raises her hand, and Jeff's like, you don't have a say in the deadlock. It's only people with votes do, and that was new to me.
Yeah, I did not expect that either. I mean, it makes sense, but unexpected.
Well, and so what were your thoughts about Daniel's negotiating strategy?
Stephen, so many things that he did just confused me. And that was probably the number one. Why throw Chanel under the bus so hard right away? First of all, why can't you own your vote? He immediately turns to Chanel and is just like, Chanel, tell me how you want me to vote, as if she controls his vote. Like, Daniel, why? What are you doing? Secondly, Chanel, maybe they're not super tight allies, but like they were working together. She gave him information, and immediately, for no reason, he just throws her under the bus. Like, Chanel's not going home, Daniel. You're going to have to talk to her after this tribal council, and you've immediately tossed her under the bus. Like, what? I can't figure out what he was hoping to accomplish.
First of all, I love how he immediately opens with like, I refuse to go to the rocks. And you immediately cedes all power out of his hands, right? Because the whole point of rocks is saying, like, I'm not going to give in. You have to capitulate to my side or else we're rocking it out, right?
Yeah.
So he says, I'm not going to the rocks, and I have all my cards, right?
Like, exactly. Yeah. Well, at that point, you know exactly who's going home.
Right. And it's because like, and then like the whole Chanel thing, like I was so confused.
Yeah. I've no idea what was going through his head.
I mean, because like if he just simply said like, I can't go to the rocks this early. I'm so sorry, Jenny. I really want to work with you, but I can't take the risk on your behalf. I'm capitulating. Jenny's upset, but I think Mike and Chanel understand.
Yeah.
But like, what I was hoping you had a better idea what was going on with him busing Chanel, because I certainly didn't have a good idea what was going on with busing Chanel. I think
the only thing I can think of is if he genuinely wanted to get permission from Chanel to vote out Jenny, and that was his way of doing it. Terrible way of going about it. But if he really did want to make sure that he respected Chanel's opinion, and so he just put it out in the open, like, hey, Chanel, if you want me to vote Jenny, I'll vote Jenny. It's a terrible way to go about doing it, but that's the only way that makes any sense to me at all.
Kirk Carlson asked, like, why didn't they, especially Jenny, try to get high on their side prior to the tribal, not literally at the last minute, the consensus part of the revote? You know, I think we were saying, like, we didn't think that Chanel told the rest of her alliance she had no vote. I think only Daniel knew. And so I think if you're Jenny and you learn Chanel has no vote, you're like, well, shoot, this is how a deadlock, Jenny's going to figure out the deadlock. I think then you kind of go to the other side and say, hey, we have a problem. The problem is Daniel or Chanel. Let's vote them out. I think you try to do that.
Yeah.
I think if Jenny and Mike had known that they were in such dire straits because of Chanel, that the game time would have been a little different.
Well, and with that being said, maybe it was smart of Chanel then to not share that information with Mike and
Yeah.
Jenny, because I think you're right. The logical next good move would be for Jenny and Mike to go try
Mhm.
to team up with Hai and Lydia and say, all right, let's maybe do something else with this. Yeah.
And so getting back to Daniel, he first seeds all his cards to Hai. He then busts Chanel for strange reasons, trying to pin the blame on her. And Chanel's
Yeah.
like, "Whoa, you're your own dude. You're making your own decisions. What's going on here?"
And I will say that is the second time where I was impressed with Chanel's reaction, because her immediate response when Daniel kind of like tosses her under the bus is like, listen, like, I don't have a vote. Like, this is irrelevant right now. We're trying to decide if we're gonna go to Iraq. She just like she tries to effectively deflect, like, this is on you. It's your decision. Don't put it on me. And then, of course, Daniel just like keeps pushing and pushing and pushing. But I think she did a really great job of trying to just like, nope, don't. It is not my decision. I have no vote. Like, this is on you.
Oh man! And then like, because what's interesting about Hai position, right? Like, never has a minority been this empowered before. You have to think like, okay, Daniel is likely to capitulate, but even if Daniel doesn't, right? I only have a 1 in 4 shot of drawing a rock,
Yeah.
right? It's like you know that you are in great likelihood of someone from the majority is gonna take the hit for you.
Yeah. Which is, I think, I think probably as soon as he heard Daniel say that Daniel wasn't going to go to Rocks, I knew like he could say that he was willing to, and it would never get to that point. But yeah, even if he did, it was the perfect position for him to be in.
Because like you think like normal final 6, like in merge situations, someone has immunity, right? So even if you do a 3-3 deadlock and go the tie, like the tribe that has immunity, right? Only one person, or the alliance is immune, only one person is at risk, while it's we 2 from the other side. So there's always this weird, like, you have this big disincentive to go to rocks if you don't have immunity in your alliance, because like we have a higher risk of going home for someone that it doesn't matter.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah, no. I agree with that. As soon as Daniel said, "I'm not going to rocks," I'm like, well, shoot.
Yep.
I don't. Was it? And so, I don't know. Any other thoughts about what went down here? I just have my notes are like, Daniel is just putting his foot in his mouth.
Yeah, 100%. That was exactly I just wrote like, Daniel is in hot water. I don't see this going well for him in the future.
And like, I have to imagine this has been edited down to a nice compressed segment. This was like maybe 10, 20, half an hour.
Yeah.
Because I'm always wondering, like, why is it Jenny and Lydia like fighting for themselves more?
Yeah.
Like, why aren't they just like pulling High side, pulling Daniel's side? Like, you can't do this. You can't let me go home. You need to stick with me. Like, I don't know.
Yeah. And hopefully they did do that and we just didn't get to see it. But I just like, it was a lot of bad gameplay that we saw this episode. I just keep thinking like how like Daniel could have put himself in such a great position if he would have just like flipped, or if Chanel had not risked her vote and they would have just stuck with Jenny and Mike. But everyone, the whole compilation of everyone's poor choices.
So,
like,
Lexy, in honor of the Oscars, we should give Razzies to the worst performances of Survivor 42 episode 3. And so I'm going to lay out a couple players, and I want you to tell me who wins the Razzie. Okay. And so I think the nominations are Marianne for just telling her entire tribe she's an extra vote, and then finding an idol publicly and losing her vote in front of them, so everyone knows she has all the things.
Yes.
Next up, Omar for risking his vote and what's probably going to burn him when his tribe goes to tribal council, if they do again, because there's only 4 and no vote when there's 4 people left. That's going to be pretty killer. Even though he might have made the correct decision to risk his vote, the consequences are going to be bad. Chanel for telling Omar she's in a situation she needs her vote, and then risking it, and then leading all these various events that are going to happen because she has no vote. or Daniel for not jumping ship in a nice, quiet way and voting out Ginny, but letting it go to the second deadlock, publicly ceding all his cards to Hai, and then basically making his entire alliance, or really Mike and Chanel, be really upset with them afterwards.
Yeah.
Who gets the Razzie of these nominations?
I feel like even though we did see a lot of really bad gameplay, there still to me is a very obvious winner in Daniel. Like start to finish of the episode, we saw him kind of rubbing tribe mates the wrong way. We saw him really tick Mike off with the whole losing the idol situation and just pushing to read it in the first place, throwing Chanel under the bus, not switching his vote, the many things that he said at tribal council that just like did not put him in a good light. I think he's got to be the winner. Chanel would be a close second.
Yeah, because like Chanel's one bad decision made this timeline happen, right? None of this happens if Chanel doesn't make her decision, but it's just like, I think after the decision, Daniel just made so many more bad decisions, so many more damaging ones.
Yeah.
Right. It's like, because Chanel makes a bad decision, lose her vote. She and Daniel can jump ship, work with Hai and Lydia, vote out Ginny. It sucks, but they, like you said, I think there was damage control that should have been had. You know, I will break the tie. I'm gonna go for Daniel just because I was just watching in horror as he just undid all the work he did in the game. I was like, oh my gosh. I mean, the reason why I'm voting Daniel is because I think he's the next one coming home from this tribe. I think this tribe goes to tribal again. He's going out.
I could see it. Yeah, I could see it. I don't think anyone's going to be fighting to keep him after this tribal.
I think Lydia and Hai are probably not going to trust him after all that. They're like, and I think Chanel's going to be going to Mike, going to Lydia and Hai saying, hey, Daniel's a problem. I can't work with him. We shouldn't work with him. And then Mike is going to be too much of a powerhouse for the tribe that challenges unless they think he's an issue because of the idol.
Yeah, which I still think would be, I mean, I think they need to get rid of it before merge.
Yeah.
No one on that tribe, like they just voted out Mike's closest ally. He's not, I can't imagine him being super loyal to any of his tribe mates at this point. Yeah. So I don't know why they would let him get to the merge with an idol.
It's just like, it was just amazing. It just in one vote, the entire tribe fractured and suddenly Hai and Lydia are on the top of the totem. It's just amazing.
And I'm not mad about it, honestly. I like both of those players. I don't know that they...
Lydia's Twitter game is strong. I'll say that much.
It's so good. Yeah, it's so good. So you've got Lydia's Twitter game. You've got Hai's in-game, just like his intuition. I think he's very deserving of being at the top at this point. So I'm happy to see them there. It's just like, I don't know if they get credit for putting themselves there or if Daniel and Chanel get credit for
I think Hai certainly played it as best you can as you learn, like, everyone's losing their votes. All these things are going on. You don't know about what is happening. Why are there no votes?
Yeah, you think about that too. Like in the moment, he's getting all of this information and having to figure out like how to process it and what to do with it. So I think you're right. He handled it exactly perfectly.
Like, and I was thinking, like, you know, one other thing this is kind of crazy, but Chanel could have come back and said, all right, I might have lost my vote. We need the jump ship. And this is what we go. But we need okay, let me return my thoughts. I think she could have sold to Hai and Lydia that Jenny has an idol and she knows because Omar told her so. Say that Jenny lied about the visits. Like Marianne told Omar, who told me Jenny has an idol. We know for sure we need to split the votes because of that. I think you could have like constructed a lie based off of that to maybe help make the split time. I don't know. That was just one of the things working through my head of just crazy out there things that players could have done.
Yeah, I think it would have been worth a shot and probably would have given her a better chance at actually splitting the vote than what she did because Hai couldn't figure out why she would be pushing so hard for a split vote. So you're right. That probably, I mean, it can't have gone worse for her. So it could potentially have.
All right. Yeah, so we've done the Razzies, but now we need to do the Oscars. And so the Oscar nominations for Best Performance goes to, I'm trying to think of who actually did good things this episode. All right. Best performance will go to Jonathan for single-handedly carrying his entire tribe on the back through the challenge to victory. And then
Are we,
next,
sorry, are there contenders?
yes, next nomination goes to, I think, Roxroy for successfully landing the bags in the platform to make Inca not go to tribal council. Finally, it goes to High for standing up for Lydia and not backing down and being able to break a tie in his favor despite being in the minority.
Yeah. Again, to me, the clear winner has to be High. Like the gameplay, the intuition, the sticking to his guns.
Mhm.
I think he had an almost perfect episode.
Yeah. Well, is there anything else any other nonsense in this episode we didn't cover you want to talk about?
There was so much nonsense, but I think we hit it all. I do. I think we got it.
Well, Snyder's voting for Jonathan, and honestly, like that performance from Jonathan was pretty stunning. When like everyone's floundering, he's dragging Marianne, then he's dragging Omar, then he's dragging the ladder. It's just like, oh my.
So in a show about obstacle courses, I think he would probably do quite well based on his performance today.
I mean, I know Jonathan said his goal is to win all the mini challenges, but like he might.
Yeah. Well, yeah, there might be less competition than in
unless we get to that my favorite challenge where it's like use your feet to put blocks up on a little pedestal and then put the flag in the middle and just like
so good.
Why?
Because it's fun to watch, Steven. That's why.
Yeah. Lexy, predictions. What's going to happen next episode?
Well,
who's in danger on each of the tribes?
Yeah. Okay. So Daniel for sure. I would say Daniel and Mike. Daniel made a lot of people mad this episode, but I think if they're smart, they'll vote off Mike. Yeah, he's like physically strong, but I think the idol might be a problem for them moving forward. Sorry.
Yeah, go for it.
Taku, it's got to be Marianne.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't know that she's gonna. I mean, based on just because everyone else seems to gel so well, and people have already kind of mentioned being a little bit. Well, I guess just Lindsay mentioned being a little bit annoyed by her. Jonathan seems to really like Marianne, so maybe actually she'll be okay.
Because we have 14 players left, we merge at 12, so we have 2 more vote outs, right?
Yeah, I think so.
If we're like last season.
Yeah. On Ika, I think it's Roxroy. And part of me thinks that because of the preview for next week's episode, but also I think we saw in episode 1, I did not expect this from Roxroy. His like pre-game interviews and things made him seem like he was pretty chill. He seemed like pretty level-headed. And then he came out swinging with just like, he was very assertive, very like my way or the highway. And it seems like that just continues and is rubbing people the wrong way. So I think if they did go to tribal, he might be in a little bit of trouble.
Yeah, no, I agree with you a lot there. I think we saw a little like Romeo talking about Roxroy in the preview. We saw Marianne angry at Jonathan, and we see all the fallout with Daniel. So I'm excited to see what nonsense goes down next episode. But
Me too.
I don't know if it can top this. This is like there's so many bad things happening all at once.
Yeah, it was wild. I did not expect it. And I'm sad because I think the outcome was we saw a really strong player go home much earlier than she should have. But it was an entertaining episode.
I feel a little gutted for Jenny still. It's just like, oh wow. It's again, like we mentioned, Suri going home with no votes cast against her. Like, oh no, this shouldn't have happened in any normal world.
Yeah, it's just not fair. Yeah.
Well, Lexy, thank you so much for stopping by to talk about both Survivor BC and Survivor 42 today, especially so late in the evening.
Yeah, absolutely. Anytime.
So again, Snyder, Kirk, everyone else, thank you for stopping by and listening. There will be more recaps following next week's episode of season 42. And then if you are interested in Survivor British Columbia, which we both played on, they are currently, I think, at the final 7. For this season, so check them out on YouTube. And it is a fun season, though. Spoilers: Lexy and I are not the stars of the show.
So is it that good of a season?
I know, right? Just stick with Survivor. You'll be fine. All right. Thank you everyone for tuning in, and have a good rest of your night.